Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel, wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Wednesday hump day that we have going on here. And things are starting to actually look rather interesting, especially on the medium term timeframes, which can give us a great bias coming in the next 5 to 6 days of price action and essentially answer the question of where will this rally lead and what to be essentially expecting within that time frame. Other than that, I want to once again humbly request that if you find this content valuable, if you find this content in some way useful, please consider liking and subscribing and herping your dirt. All right, nice. Let's just jump right into it, starting off with the HPDR indicator on the 12-hour time frame. Now, the HPDR indicator, as we went over yesterday, is accurately getting the current range high and low. That is between the 90% of historical returns range highs, which is this level right here. Let me just mark it off. And the lows, which is this level right here at the 80% of historical returns level. So within that case, it gives us a very easy way to be looking at the range and a range resolution with a closure above or below. In this case, the returns range high would be 21,350. The returns range low about 20,500. Any sort of even a 6-hour time frame closure above the range high, especially a 12-hour time frame, and I would call that a resolution. And very likely we will see the next trending move to the upside somewhere, which we will get into soon enough based off these statistics. And to the downside, we'd very likely be looking somewhere around the 382 Fibonacci retracement, which is in the mid $19,000 territory. Here's the thing. We do actually have a setup on this particular indicator as well, which is based off of volatility decreasing close over closure from the moving average on the BBWP, which officially happened here, which was 2 days ago. So 2 days ago, that signal fired off, and that signal essentially does suggest that a downside move is a little bit more likely, but we'll go over why I don't think that that's so likely as of right now. And of course, that will be negated and invalidated, and just as valuable to know that if it does close above the tops out of those returns range highs, again, 21,350, very likely looking, I would say, decently higher. So we can go and backtest that that setup over here. This is the 12-hour time frame. Again, this is what the quant program essentially looks like. I made a note on this particular setup that to avoid it at all fucking costs in a bull market, which I define as a weekly upturn, which we don't necessarily have right now, but based off of the macro analysis that I've been putting out for the past like month and a half now, you know, I do have reason to believe that this rally does have leg and probably leads into something like that. Anyways, out of 50 iterations going all the way back to 2017, 31 out of 50 played out in that desired fashion, which was to the downside, which gives it about a 62% strike rate. So not super high, but a slight edge in favor of the downside. Again, within the context of overall upside markets, that is reduced a little bit lower than 50% actually. With those stats in mind, on the win side, the average win percentage, so the average return percentage based off of that setup, if it plays out in the desired or in the intended fashion, which would be the downside, nearly an 8% move on average. But here's the thing, just as important, just as valuable to know is what you expect if it fails, which again, 21,350 to the upside would indicate a failure on a closing basis for a 12-hour time frame, or a 6-hour time frame, maybe a little bit above there, would indicate about a 9.25% move on average. I did a first standard deviation measurement here for the win side versus the losing side over here, and then a min-max as well, which, you know, got all the way up to like, 20%, which is rather impressive, obviously. Going back into it, and I'm about to sneeze, so apologies in a second here. Sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you, sir. Anyways, if this one does play out to the downside, well, what does 8% off the current price action look like? That would put Bitcoin at about 19,500. Oh, that's right around the 382 Fibonacci retracement, which is kind of where you do expect your strong trending moves to pull back down to and put in higher lows. Also, that's where the CME gap is from last Friday, or around there. And to the upside, and this is what I think is a lot more interesting, and I'll spend some time explaining why. If we do see it close above that level, very likely going to see, on average, we've seen about a 9% move, which would put Bitcoin at about 23,200, the last major breakdown that we saw coming in from mid-August, let's say. So aligns with that as well, so good technical carryover there. But here's the thing. When you see price action grinding up against resistance or grinding down against a support for a prolonged period of time, it's a lot more likely to continue in that direction rather than reverse. I'll give you an example, actually. This example comes from 2019 off of the reversal from, it was like 3,000 with that first move up to 6,000, and everyone was looking to not everyone, but a lot of people are looking to short the $6,000 level because that was a great support throughout the 2018 time period over here. You can see that it went sideways for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and then boom, girthy green dildo party to the upside, busting all through them walls. Actually, we have somewhat of a similar setup over here, albeit on a smaller time frame. This is a 4-hour time frame. You can see it goes sideways against this level, and it's still around that same sort of level that we did see hold up for the later end, the back half of 2022. So I do look at that as an indication that things are, I actually do think that things are a little more likely to break to the upside here than the downside. But hey, my opinion, not necessary on this one. Again, validation of that above the range highs, or validation of the stats to the downside below the range lows at about 20,500. Looking at stochastic momentum on the daily for CME, we can see that the current pivot is 21,375, which Bitcoin's actually above by about $25 as of right now. So that would imply that if we are going to see this turn down, we expect it to happen within the next, I'd say, no more than 4 trading days, probably more around like 2 to 3 days. And if it's going to continue to the upside, well, a little bit longer than that, which, by the way, I forgot to go over here, which is also very interesting. As is set up on the HPDR, on average takes about 7 days. And on the losing side takes about 6 days. So that'd be on the upside. This would be the downside. And we've already seen 2 days of those happen. So it'd be like 5 days versus 4 days. In this case. Anyways, going over to the 12-hour time frame, the current momentum pivot is 21,600, or a little bit below there. And yeah, it's in extremes right now. To be fair, I don't really trust stochastic momentum that much during these sort of moves, but it is worth knowing, I guess. 6-hour time frame, current pivot 21,465. 4-hour time frame, this one's actually more concerning than anything else, I think. 21,570, and hourly is going to be upside actually above 21,250. So a bit of bifurcation there, a lot of them in extremes. So what does that essentially imply? Essentially implies that Bitcoin either continues from here, like probably around end of week, maybe at latest Monday, or very likely then we'd probably see the downside move play out with the targeted region somewhere at like the mid to upper 19s, between that CME gap and that 382 fib retracement. Here's the thing though, anything below the 382 fib retracement, I will get very bearish. I will call this a major bull trap. I will be looking for price action all the way back down towards the prior weekly lows. I don't think that's very likely to happen from here, but hey, that's what would validate it for me. Anyways, I do want to go over some new as well. So yesterday we spoke about the 21 and 55 exponential moving average cross, which is this cross right here, the yellow 21 and the green 55. Throughout the full history of Bitcoin, we've seen this happen many times before. I've backtested all of them. In fact, I think there's like 30 or so, or there's a lot. There's an average move about 80, almost 82%. Again, that's that's hopium right now. I don't really think it's wise to be talking about targets like that, to be fair. But what is more interesting is that CME has now actually validated that same cross on the daily over here. So the 21 and 55 has officially crossed the upside. So that does give me a bias that pullbacks down, somewhere around the shallower moving averages, which is a 9 exponential moving average right here, which is, hey, what do you know, right within the middle of the $19,000 territory, would be a nice bounty level as well if Bitcoin were to pull back. But ultimately, that indication has generally been a pretty good one for the upside. Here's a back test on CME. I didn't go through the stats on it because there's just not enough, and I don't think it'd be that helpful. But yeah, that would be essentially what I'm looking at right there. And what do you know? The 200 simple moving average would be around the upside failure target at 23 to 30, 250 or so. So I thought that was also interesting. Anyways, lastly, nothing really to update here on the 5-day time frame for the volatility versus stochastic momentum signature. What was interesting and what is new is that CME just closed its last 5-day time frame, and two things here: the 5-day stochastic remained to the upside. The 5-day closed actually above the last sort of high over here at 21,485. And the 21 exponential moving average is currently around where? Oh, what do you fucking know? 19,600. So again, if it were to pull back, that's kind of my area to look towards. If it doesn't pull back, if it doesn't pull back, which I actually think is kind of a little bit more likely right now, then well, the stats that we looked at over here for the 5-day on spot price action are still very likely to be validated, because CME is going to very likely greatly influence where spot finds itself. So this would still be in play, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And 42% move off of the current signal. Where would that put Bitcoin? That would put Bitcoin, oh, 23,250, that number coming up yet again. So I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. As always, I want to be wishing you the best of best. I forgot to show Bybit, but Bybit has it's actually a pretty good promotion going on, 0% on maker fees for derivative contracts with actually only my link that I'm aware of, because I specifically negotiate for these things because I imagine, well, I know it's very valuable to more active traders. So you might find value in that, which is in the link in the description below. Other than that, as always, wish you the best of the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.